Actually under the weather. He wanted to come, but the decision was made this morning. He just can't physically make it. So I'm here and want to, first of all, congratulate you all for such a good turnout today. Basically, we're here to celebrate or announce that there has been a deal arranged. You'll hear a whole lot more about it in dealing with the Maryland Transit Authority. Negotiations are ongoing to make this a long-term arrangement, but there's been some short-term, as you know, funding that's been provided by the governor, the legislature, and the auditor, and different ones. We'll be up here to talk in just a few minutes. It's, you know, I've just got several names. I've written them down that we want to thank. Obviously, you're one of the few, or maybe the only two counties that have a council rather than a county commission, as the rest of us call it. But we want to give, the governor wants to definitely thank the councils of Berkeley and Jefferson County for stepping forward and helping with this, and all the local governments that, you know, I've got a long list here. I don't want to miss anybody, but, you know, we've got Shepherdstown, and I can't even read my Harper's Ferry. I think I'm told that this is pronounced Bolivar. Did I get that right? Or is it Bolivar?
Actually, it's pronounced Bolivar. Right?
Bolivar? Okay. Yeah. Well, it's all right.
It's a mispronunciation, but that's what we do.
Martinsburg, Jefferson County, I've already mentioned that. And the Vice President, Dan Delier, is that how I say his name? Understand that he's going to speak in a little bit. And he's been a real spark plug in all this. So anyway, the governor himself wants to say that he's made a commitment to, as we move forward, to have the state's budget participate in whatever may be needed to fill the gap after the negotiations. Obviously, the local governments up here have stepped forward. The governor recognizes, without a doubt, and I absolutely concur with him, having been up here a few times, that this train service is actually vital to your economy here. And we actually have been told by our economic development people that there's actually one business who's choosing to locate here, and that was the existence of this train was an important part of their decision. And it was my experience. It was my opportunity about a month and a half ago to be in Washington at a large infrastructure meeting, infrastructure issues around the United States. And one of the things that came through very loud and clear in areas like New York and Washington, D.C., which you're near, is that as traffic gets more burdensome, that for economic purposes in the future, we'll have to look at rail or these types of alternative services. So they're very important, as many of you I know have argued over the years, and I've obviously been around this issue for a while, that even the government participating in some of the costs of this, that we actually accrue a benefit to it. So that we recognize that the Eastern Panhandle is one of the strongest economic engines in our state, so we want to continue to make it that way. The governor, obviously you're way up here and Charleston's way down there, but you're in our view. And I know that he really wanted to be here today, and as soon as he can, for those of you who are going to have meetings with him or want to talk to him directly, he's going to honor those. It'll just, you know, give us like 2 or 3 weeks, and he'll find his way up here once he's able to do that. So without further ado, I've got other folks that want to talk. Oh, I didn't mention all the delegates and senators that are here. I've known a lot of them for a long time, you know, making sure I've got the list. I've got my good friend and Senate Finance Chairman, Senator Blair, who will be coming up in just a second. Then we got Senator Rucker, who's not here today, but she wanted me to make it a point that she wanted to be here. She's actually in Charleston. There's a very important rules committee that she's on that actually, I think, Craig, didn't they have to delay and have an extra day's meeting or something? And that's why she couldn't make it up here. We've got, is Eric Householder here? I don't know if I saw him or not, but Delegate Barrett's here. We've got Darrell Cole here, John Doyle here. And then you're going to hear from the state auditor. Where is he? He's here somewhere. Oh, there he is over there. He's on my right. He's a right winger today. He's over there. He'll be speaking to you, and he's stepped up with some funding from his office. So that's why we've got him here. But again, We do love the Eastern Panhandle. The governor loves it. He's, if you've studied out some of the policies of his administration, he's focused up here. He's interested in what happens, and will be up here as soon as he can be to meet with several of you. And I know I just met with one of the mayors who wants to talk to him directly. So we want to honor all those commitments. Without further ado, I'm going to hand this microphone over to Craig Blair. After that, it'll be Delegate Jason Barrett, and then the auditor, and then Mr. Dan Dulier, and then I'll come back up just to have the closing remarks. But I'll ask all those people, if you've got that order in mind, just pass the microphone to the next one. So here you go, Craig.
Thank you, Mike. It's sort of odd that I'm behind this podium right now because I've been the bad cop through this whole thing, and I think almost everybody in this room knows that. And the reason for it is that when you're the finance chairman for the state of West Virginia and the Senate, you got to look out for the entire state. Okay, we've been negotiating back and forth, and I'd like to tip my hat to Jason Barrett because we've worked very, very well together on trying to get this across the finish line. The governor has taken the money from the contingency fund. The legislature put 1.2 million in. The governor put 1.1. JB is going to come up and talk about 750,000 he put in. The $300,000 that came from the counties and the municipalities. I guess the most important thing that I need to do is say that this isn't over. If this is going to be a long-term thing, we understand that this took place in the middle of your budget year and asking it, but now you know. We have to have the counties and the communities' participation, the municipalities' participation. And it'll probably end up having to be a greater participation into the future. I can't stress this enough because it's a tough lift to be able to put it in the budget. As my former finance chairman, this is the finance chairman before me, and the Senate will attest, he understands that what that lift is to be able to get that done. So I'm asking, because all of you are sitting in here, this is a great celebration. Make no mistake about it. I love the train. Got to be able to afford it and what's going on. And I know that you sit here saying, well, there's economic impacts that come from it. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right on that. But downstream in Maryland, the communities participate as well. With that said, we need to increase ridership. So if there's any riders in here, which there's probably not, but there's people, really? Yes. Okay, because normally the riders are already using the train for the day or whatever, but good, I'm glad you're here. We need to get the word out to get the ridership up. And we're looking at, when I talked to the governor's office, on being able to waive the surcharge when we're putting this money in. And there's going to be eyes watching that. If the surcharge is lifted, then the riders that were going over to Brunswick and picking up should stay home. We need to see these numbers increase to be able to justify to the legislature if we're going to put this in the budget long term. Now, we're going to live out of the contingency fund and things like that, and with JB's help, and by the way, JB, you helped last year to the tune of $1.5 million for that matter, and Jason and I worked with JB to be able to get that accomplished, as well as, oh my God. Yes, Delegate Moore. I get mental blocks on names sometimes. So, everybody should be willing to celebrate what we've got here. And I hope that it continues on and the ridership grows and that this service is utilized so that it makes it an easy sell in the legislature on how important this is to the East, not just the Eastern Panhandle, but to the state of West Virginia. The rest of West Virginia is looking at us here in the Eastern Panhandle, how we behave, how we operate, and actually, they're wishing they had our prosperity. And things are getting better, not just here, but in the entire state of West Virginia. And it's due to the leadership of the governor and his staff, and everybody knows I get into it with the governor from time to time. But the people that he puts, and the secretaries and the commissioners, and people like Mike, the chief of staff, these people go above and beyond the call of duty to get the job done. It's one of the things he's the very best at, is choosing the best and most talented people to be able to get the job done across the board. With that said, I'm not going to say any more, but there ought to be any of us that can get the opportunity to ride that train. We should be doing it, and I'd look forward to being able to get it running on the weekends. And I'd also like to see it go all the way to Morgan County so that we can pick up Western Maryland, which the state of Maryland ought to be trying to do that to start with. You pick up Morgan County and you get Pennsylvania as well. That helps with the ridership as well. This is sometimes about business as well. So, but these negotiations are taking in place. I'm going to say one last thing too. We want to see the numbers from Maryland on what the true cost of the train is. That is important as well when we're making our decisions on what goes forward. The more data, the more transparent that it is, the more likely it is that we're able to get things across the finish line and put it into the budget on a long-term basis so that we don't have to live from the year to year that we've been doing here. So thank you. Jason, I'm supposed to hand the mic to you. I want to thank you for the work that you've done because you've been phenomenal with it.
Thanks, man. Well, first and foremost, thank you, Senator Blair, for those kind words. It's been really a team effort all across the board, working to get to this day. And Senator Blair is right. It is a day to celebrate. It is a day that where we can come and tell you that we're going to have a long-term agreement in place. And I first want to start by thanking Governor Justice and his staff. I've spent numerous phone calls with Berkeley Bentley, with Secretary Byrd White, who has done a great job negotiating with the state of Maryland. But I really want to focus on our local governments. And we've had several meetings and several conversations with many of you folks, and many of you are here, and I appreciate you being here today. I appreciate your hard work. I know that it was difficult in a mid-year budget for you to come up with some of those funds. I know I may have leaned hard on a couple of you, but I do want to say that I'm very grateful for you stepping up and doing the right thing for this community. Those of you that are here and voted for that funding, it was absolutely necessary to get to today. That was the cards we were dealt, the hand we were dealt, and the way that we had to get this done was get local buy-in, and I'm so grateful for each of you to do that. Moving forward, the Senator's right. We have to increase ridership. Not only for those that I believe are going to work every day. And, I spent, as well as some of my other colleagues, we spent an entire week out here every morning at the 3 train stations. Delegate Doyle was one of them. Delegate Brown as well as Delegate Householder. And we originally came out to count the number of folks that were riding the train every morning. But more importantly than counting the numbers, we got to listen to their stories. And we got to find out that these folks are not originally from West Virginia, but they've moved here for our quality of life, to get out of the hustle and bustle of the city, for those type of things. And they're here because they have that train service into the city every day, and we need to be mindful of that. We need to do a better job of marketing the train, not only from the aspect of being able to go to work every day, but from the aspect of tourism. And I would like for the tourism office in West Virginia to work with our local CVBs to promote and market this train in DC for folks to take the last train into the Eastern Panhandle on Friday night, spend the weekend here in the Panhandle, eat at our restaurant, shop at our stores, enjoy what West Virginia and the Eastern Panhandle have to offer, and then first thing Monday morning, they can pick the train back up and go back into the city. And I think we need to do a job of marketing that. Today is a day to celebrate, but today isn't the final chapter. We have more work to do, and I just want to thank everyone for coming out. Everybody's leadership on this, it was truly a bipartisan effort. And we're so divided in our politics now, but this is one time that I can assure you that this was strictly a bipartisan effort, and we have a lot to be proud of that. I also want to thank our auditor, J.B. McCuskey, who has recognized the importance of this train, not only to the Eastern Panhandle, but to all of West Virginia, and stepping up and finding the funds to help make this happen today. So without further ado, our auditor, J.B. McCuskey.
Thanks, Jason. As I was driving up here in a blizzard last night, would have loved to have been on a train. Actually got stuck in Cumberland. It was really, really nasty out. It is cool to be here. 3 years ago, Delegate Moore and I worked on finding funding for my office to keep the train running until today. And the reason that this is so important to me, and the reason why I'm so committed to continuing this, is that we're really at a tipping point in West Virginia, and sometimes when you're here, you don't feel it as much. As Delegate Blair and Delegate Barrett, or Senator Blair and Delegate Barrett stated, there is prosperity here. But I have a statewide office. My district is everywhere, and there are places that aren't like here. And when you're here, it is really uplifting as a statewide elected office holder to be in the middle of things that are growing and energetic and moving forward. But we have a product, as we said, we need to increase the ridership, right? I think the answer to this question is let's fill the trains up. And how do we do that? Well, we do that because what you offer here to people who live there is a lifestyle that you can't find anywhere else really in this country anymore. You're 5 minutes from church, 5 minutes from school, 5 minutes from the grocery store. You're 3 minutes from your kid's dance, 4 minutes from soccer, right? And so what you're really selling people is time. You're selling them time with their families. And I have 2 little kids at home, and my friends all left. All of them. Every single one of my friends from high school is either in Charlotte, Dallas, Denver, or DC. And they don't see their kids. We all have kids the same age. We all text each other. And they leave the office at 5:30 and they get home at 7:30. Guess who's asleep? I leave the office at 5:30 and guess who gets to spend 2 extra hours with their kids? And I don't know what that's worth, but I know that I'm happier than they are. And what this train really provides is a lifeline, in my opinion, for people that are in the DC metro area to a lifestyle that we offer. Unlimited beauty, incredible comfort, ease of lifestyle, and then a community that's going to support you. So if you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, why not come here, right? The cost of startup is lower. And you're going to be surrounded by people who, if you fail, they're going to pat you on the rear end and figure out what you're good at. You go to Baltimore, DC, Philadelphia, Chicago, Dallas, New York, if you fail, you're done. But here, you're going to be surrounded by people who are interested in your success and are going to help you get that way. And to me, this train is just a symbol of West Virginia's commitment to supporting our young entrepreneurs and people who want to have an easy transportation mode to what is, I think, the fastest growing economy in our country. And so when we were able to use the savings that our office found since I started, I couldn't have been more excited to find a really productive and great way for that money to be spent. And I think that this train is exactly that reason. And so with that being said, I think our mission forward now is how do we fill these trains up? And I think we fill those trains up by growing businesses, inviting entrepreneurs, inviting young people to come back home and live the lifestyle that is offered here that I believe is fairly unique in this country at this point. And I think it's our state's greatest selling point. I'm really happy to be here. I appreciate you guys all coming out. And I will always stand to do whatever I can to make sure that this service continues because I think it's wildly important, not just the economy here, but the economy of West Virginia. And with that, I will move it over to, oh, sorry, you again? Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
So we all know that things worth having don't come easy, and I really want to thank everybody involved here because it has been a process and it's been a long process. I think I've talked to some delegates that have been working on this for 10 years. Some of them that aren't even delegates now. I put together, I generally do impromptu. I won't be near as long as Senator Blair was. I generally do impromptu, but I put a thing together here because I want to make sure that I say a couple things about this process. About 5 years ago, when I became a Berkeley County councilman, I continuously heard that the state offices down in Charleston don't pay any attention to the Eastern Panhandle. In response, I would always reply that we don't spend enough time talking to those in Charleston who get the attention that we deserve here in the Panhandle. Fast forward 5 years, several months ago, Council President Copenhaver and myself had a meeting with the governor in the Berkeley County Council chambers to discuss 9 topics that were important to Berkeley County, one of which being the MARC Train. The governor immediately stopped me when I was speaking and said that the MARC Train was an issue that the community needed to get behind. If the community is willing to get behind and support it, the Governor Justice said he would be willing to do so as well. Delegate Jason Barrett and I decided to put together a meeting consisting of Martinsburg, Harpers Ferry, Bolivar, Shepherdstown, Charlestown, Ranson, Jefferson County, and Berkeley County. In addition, the governor sent senior staff from his office to attend the meeting. After an hour-and-a-half meeting, the group came up with a scenario that we thought might work, contingent upon the approvals of their boards. In Berkeley County, we asked the CVB and the Development Authority to help with the funding, which they did. All of the 8 boards that were represented in the MARC Train meeting agreed to come together to resolve the issue of the community's support for the train. I look forward to continuing this relationship between the Eastern Panhandle and the governor's office in Charleston, as well as work together with state to further help the needs of the citizens of Berkeley County and the Eastern Panhandle. On behalf of Berkeley County, I would like to thank the Governor, Justice, and your staff for helping to come up with a deal to save the MARC Train and then making it become a reality. Thank you.
Understand that we have some folks from the Martinsville Police Department that may have to leave, but we want to thank you for your service, and I think. What did I say? Oh, Martinsburg. Did I say that? I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to say Martinsburg. But anyway, if you need to go, we thank you very much for what you've done. I just want to say the Governor further will be deploying Chelsea Ruby, who's our terms director, to work with Amtrak and to work with the MARC Train and different ones to try to put together packages that would attract people to use the train to increase the ridership. And there will be a focus on, we recognize this is a tourism destination in many parts of the area, so that she'll be up here to help do that. We're going to provide all the energy, the governor wants to provide all the energy the office can to try to help this situation. We recognize that the funding, as you've heard, is kind of pieced together from here and there, but there's a commitment on the part of the governor to create a permanency to that. And to process the idea of that permanency through the legislative process and the budgeting process. We do understand that other states fund the thing entirely, so we have to, just think in terms of how it is that we would add a permanency to the funding sources, and that's very much a commitment on the part of our governor to do that. So with that all said, we thank you very much for coming today. Again, the governor would love to be here. It was a last-minute decision. It cannot be. He'll be back up as soon as he possibly can. Thank you very much for coming today. Appreciate it.